Welcome back to Talking About East Africa. Now, early last week, we got a chance to engage with some key partners here in the music industry to give us a sense on what exactly the investment landscape provides in terms of a conducive environment for potential players trying to get in or those who've already been here. Let's just take a look and listen in to some of the insights that were provided during that particular interview. Take a look.
This is an exhibition that already exists and that has been in many countries around the world, and somehow the curator of the exhibition met someone from Africalia, which is our founder, and they had a discussion and said, why not bring it to Rwanda? We, as a Rwanda Arts Initiative, are co-producing this exhibition with Atelier 144, which is the man who conceived the idea of the exhibition.
You said 11 hours of music over a day of other content. How did you lock down the creative aspect to ensure that people are able to internalize all this content within the time given? You said it takes more than a day coming back and forth to get this content in. Help us understand that.
Well, the exhibition originally is much bigger than this. The one that was presented in Paris was 900 meters squared of scenography. So you can imagine that the content was much bigger, and we had to choose a content here that would go with our 300 meter squares. So space is important, but it's also important that you have the legends, and among the legends there are some Africans, so the legend rooms. Of course there are more legends in black music than the ones that show, but you have to at some point narrow it down to, hey, the room is small, we need
very specific.
Yeah, right. So you have some Africans there too, and you have some Caribbeans, you have a little bit of a mix of everything.
Syekei, yeah, a legend on the same. Is there at least no compromise where she would have some mention somewhere, because she's a person that people really know as well versed within the industry?
Well, we made a series of interviews, videos, short videos. So we interviewed Syekei, and she's on our social media. It was really, her video was the most popular. When she was talking about how when she was younger, Miriam Makeba really inspired her, and that she would, in the video she says that she would wait, because they had she would wait for her songs on the radio to write, because the songs would pass at the same exact time every day. So she would start writing the song from the radio and then stop, and then the next day wait for the song, wait for it to be, and then continue to write it, and then she would perform Miriam Makeba songs. And she told me that really inspired her in her music. And we also interviewed Gaël Faye, Eric Wanki. We even interviewed Riderman and Yvonne Buravan, many of the Rwandan artists, from the traditional to the contemporary.
You're well versed in the industry. You understand it both from the modern perspective, soul edition, and a lot more that has happened here. What remains the missing link between pushing out content and trying to get the revenue back? I really need to understand why we're still not seeing a lot more investment or money on the same.
You're touching very important right here. We need to professionalize the art industry. That way, we advocate to public institutions, private institutions, and tell them, hey, really, culture is something you can invest in, and it's profitable. You need professional cameramen, you need professional sound engineers, you need professional actors, you need professional everything, which costs money, but also need training. There's no really art school, so you need to train them in order for them to be respected as professionals and so that the money can be invested. We have the same problem, for example, when you go to look for a sponsor, they don't understand why they should pay this amount or this amount of money. Affluence also is a problem because not many people attend a certain kind of event, so investors are basically looking at it from a business point of view and saying, why would I put money in something that people will not come to see? And the sad part now about it is that we've had like maybe 2,000 people visiting since we began in May. And it's not difficult to tell you that maybe 30% of the people who come are African. And you're like, where, how, what can we do? This is an interactive exhibition. It's not something that you have to sit and read. You come here, you have your headphones, you have your smartphone, you choose what you want to listen to, and you educate yourself while entertaining yourself. And when you get out of this place, you get out with a feeling of pride. You know, you say, you know what? Yes, we did this. And if we did this, we can do more. And this is, in my opinion, the reason why nothing much is done and many people copy something. They copy music. You want to do music? I'm going to copy something from America. Hey, guess what? You're copying the copy of the copy, and your ancestors originated from here and did this. You don't have to copy. You have it in you.
All right, let's jump into other matters on security. Recent reports have shown that Kenya is a leading target of cybercrime in East Africa. A 2016 report by Deloitte showed that Kenya lost $170.5 million in that year, while Serianu's cybersecurity report for the same period showed that banks are the most targeted institutions due to high penetration of financial technology. Joining us now to discuss how lawmakers and regulators are responding to these challenges is John Syekei, who's the head of intellectual property and IT at Bowmans. John, glad to have you speaking to us. It's nice that you could join us on the line. This time, speaking about this is the most opportune time. We just saw Bitcoin at it again, not petty hackers demanding over $250,000 in Bitcoin to cure ransomware victims. Now, that's in the developing markets. What kind of message does this provide for our relatively weaker systems well within our region?
Yeah, I can hear you, but not very clearly.
John, maybe I could just repeat the question. We just saw the NotPetya hackers demanding over $250,000 in Bitcoin to cure ransomware victims. What kind of a message does this now send to us here in the region?
Yes, the message that we are getting from all this is that cyber attacks are global, and we need to also have systems in place in the region to ensure that we can protect the integrity of the digital environment in Kenya, in the sense of in East Africa, in the sense that we should have appropriate legislation, appropriate risk management systems in place to minimize or mitigate risk. For example, proper business continuity plans, proper regimes around ensuring that cybersecurity is dealt with at both government level, but also by businesses. And businesses need to ensure that they have appropriate cybersecurity policies in place.
Now, of course, Serianu notes that banks are the most vulnerable due to the adoption of fintech. Banks in the region continue to cut and streamline jobs, would be a lot more settled, knowing that people are, the jobs are being cut, but those ones being gained are those within cybercrime or cyber-related jobs.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't get the last part of that question. It's not very clear, but I think if you're talking about issues around cybercrime and cybercrime-related jobs, I mean, for instance, in Kenya, aside the Central Bank of Kenya has issued a guidance note on cyber risk, and one of the key things they would like is for senior management and board level, directors on the board of institutions licensed under the Banking Act to have cybercrime dealt with at a board level, senior management level, to ensure that computer information system officers are hired, consistent IT audits are in place, and employees are trained on cyber risk or cyber security issues. So investment by businesses and companies in training up employees and hiring more IT professionals who are savvy and understand these risks would be key going forward.
Right, John, unfortunately we have to put a pause on things there and just wind up, but many thanks for giving us that insight in brief on combating cybercrime. That was John Syekei, who's the head of intellectual property and IT at Bowmans.